It is Power 98.7 on Monday, the 21st of July, and you are in the second hour of Power Lunch. When did you remember starting to do chores? Or was it always just a part of your life? Or maybe just because that we did chores. There are no chores. It's just you are a part of the family, and so you will do things that the family needs for you to do. Well, I remember, having to juggle a lot of things as a young person because I had a job as a very, very young person, like almost from 4 years old. And my mother, bless her soul, and she's still the same, will do everything for me. Like my mother, Shem, hi. But then my grandmother was like, nope, not on my watch. You are not going to raise a lazy bones who doesn't know how to make a bed, who's never washed a dish, who hasn't met with a mop. Have you met with a mop when it's cold outside and it's just you and that mop? My grandmother was like, absolutely not. And so, not to deride my mother's parenting at all, she also made me meet a mop. Today on Power Lunch, we're unpacking life skills, right? So raising capable kids with the proper life skills. So chores, cooking, DIY, all of those kinds of things, and how we bring them into the home without them like, oh, Mom, I don't want to do that. We don't live. We're gentle parents, but not that gentle. So don't try us. Hello, Ayanda Tetyana. It's nice to talk to you.
Hi, Pabi, and hi to the listeners.
So I mean, what do you think about all of this? How did you remember your childhood becoming kind of domesticated and understanding of chores?
Oh my, so mine was a bit hectic because my parents, my mom used to spoil us beautifully.
We love
And then
moms.
and then we and then they separated, the parents separated, and then we had to go live with grandparents. And then, our little palaces came crashing down. We had to learn to do everything. And I guess for me, the toughest part is that it just became so much harder
Mm,
having to learn it at that age.
okay.
And this is the reason why I'm such an advocate to saying to parents, as soon as you can, start teaching your child to do the chores so that
Mm,
whatever happens in their lives, change of situations, wherever they have to go live, should something happen to you, they are going to easily adjust. You can
mm.
imagine as a teen having to come into a new home, learning all these new things. You're almost like resentful to the people who are now instilling or trying to teach you. And
Sure.
yet, this is normal. This is something that you should have been learning all along as soon as you're able to start walking in.
Absolutely. I think that that's very interesting. And for so many people, there are kind of almost horror stories where you come from a loving parent and something happens, like just in your story, but you find a grandmother or grandfather who is like from the old school, and you're kind of caught in that. But let's bring it home and just bring it into our regular homes that are all very different, but without making them sound like these extra things that you have to do as a kid, with the idea that as a part of this family, everybody does something. Where do we start, and what age do we start, and what kinds of chores can we give the little ones?
So I think generally what has happened is that, based on how we grew up, we just tend to have this idea of we're going to do what we see,
Mm,
right? And this is now where we have to kind of like take science and a lot of this knowledge that is coming to the fore, and all this understanding about the beauty of how do you associate life skills with something as little as chores. I know in a lot of situations, some of the parents I work with, because of whatever I would have gone through, I would probably rebel against the idea of my children having chores because maybe there's a helper at home, and all of that.
Yeesh.
But but if you think of the bigger picture is how do chores then become a learning experience for our children? How does it help them when they're going to go out into their school lives, into their adult lives, and. And they help in so many ways because the child starts seeing themselves being able to do certain things. You know, they start understanding that they can be responsible for things. As you as a parent, you almost can measure from a very young age how responsible your child is in terms of just this development. And I'm saying, Pabi, you know, you never want to like make your child who's like 6 do some hectic chores. You have to look at the age, right? Something as simple as picking up your own toys, you know, starting to make food for them to feed themselves. It's going to be a bit messy, but in the process, they're learning the fine motor skills, they're learning their gross motor skills. This is amazing. It helps build their confidence. And as they grow older, you start assigning a little bit more duties to them. What's really important is that we use it as a messaging to say, as part of this family, we are all contributing.
Yes.
And then the teamwork and the collaboration that comes with that is so important.
Tell me more about that teamwork and collaboration, because that sounds really great.
Okay, so here's something that's very interesting. So usually what happens is the firstborn child is the one who usually gets a whole lot more work that they need to, that are assigned to them. And I usually say to my parents, you have to try and be very fair in how you do that, so that even your youngest, who may be 5, can start actually doing certain things to help out the older one, or just contributing to the home, so that everyone feels that they're doing something. This also helps while they're still young, you know, so that the older one doesn't feel like, hi man, this is unfair, I'm always, you know, helping and I'm contributing. So even for the youngest one, making sure that they tidy up their toys, making sure they can try and attempt to do the bed, even though it might not be perfect, but that practice. Remember, what we want to do for our children in terms of that life skill is teach them that we don't get everything all right at the same time. You put an effort when you're working towards any skill, anything that we are doing, even as adults. You don't just get it right all at the same time.
Yeah.
So imagine if you're already from the youngest age, you're teaching your children that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to not do it right the first time. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, baby, you didn't wash these dishes well. Let me wash them for you and show you. Let me show you how I hold the plate and hold it back to front and clean it. You know, teaching them things like using hot water, but how hot the water should be.
Yes.
How to check. Those are like such important skills, but as they're doing it, their brains are growing. They're starting to learn, and it shows in other things that they do as well.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Let's speak to Mapefo. Mapefo, how are you today?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Talk to me. Is it your daughter?
Yes, Guni. She is 37 years of age.
Okay.
Right? She's got a 10-year-old daughter.
Uh-huh.
And I've got a 23-year-old daughter also. She's at university. They are two opposite people because I was expecting the young one to be the spoiled one because she grew up with a nanny in the house. Then the older one, she would leave her room messy. You know, I have tried when she was growing up, when she was a teenager. Then I used to beat her up. Otherwise, I would have been arrested then. But that time you would beat her and then you say sorry. But now I can't. So she was staying at her own place. So since COVID, the job and whatever, so she's now back at home.
Okay.
It's, I don't know.
Now let's get into definitions. Okay. What are your expectations of your young daughter?
The older one. I'm talking about the older one.
Okay, of the older one.
Yeah, the young one is fine. That one, I don't know where she's so tidy. Like when she packs her clothes in color coordination, she's always like.
Osma Pifo, I asked you what your expectations of your older daughter are.
I'm expecting her just to do your bed. Just do your bed, tidy up, and that's it.
Okay.
Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. But she can hardly even do those, like make the bed, like put this. If you take the sugar basin in the kitchen, put
Yeah.
it back where you found it.
I got
So
you.
she-
I got you. So let's hear what Ayanda has to say about that. Hi, Ayanda. Mapefu Ayanda.
So this is a 23-year-old.
No, 37.
Oh, okay. So, in terms of just communicating clear expectation when it comes to our children and whatever their challenging behavior, I think it's very important that as parents, we sit down with them and have a conversation that's very clear.
I tried.
And concise.
I tried being angry, and then I said, let me calm down. Like, let's sit down as, like, people.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Then last week she said to me, you know what, Mama, I think what we should do, maybe we should make a timetable when I should clean, when we should do the washing. And it doesn't materialize. I said, make the timetable.
Okay. So that's a very good example. And then in terms of, tell me about like consequences that you've put in place in terms of her not doing whatever's expected.
I don't even know, because every time I said to her, last time I said, please do your room and your daughter's room. She said, okay, Ma, I'll do it. Even today, she still say, I'll do it.
Is she employed?
Yes, she works online. She works from home.
Oh, beautiful. So here's my suggestion. Because the kind of advice I'd give you is usually for someone younger. For someone this old, I think the best consequence would be to actually hire someone to help her clean up, and hire as often, but make sure that she's the one who's paying for it. So that she actually knows that the things that she's not able to do,
no,
they
I
have
make
a
her
consequence.
pay. The other time I was so pissed off. Then I paid. Sorry to use the word.
It's okay.
I paid. I did the rooms, the 2 rooms. Then I said to her, pay me. Then she paid me.
Exactly.
I feel like there's a lot of shouting in this house, Osmo Pefo.
No, not at all.
Okay,
Not at
good.
all. And the problem now is
Yeah.
it's getting to the daughter. The daughter is 10 years old.
Of course, she'll
When
be
you
the same.
ask her to come do
Yeah.
the dishes, like she moans. So if her mom moans, and then why can't she moan?
But what
So,
happened when she was a very small girl?
I don't know. She was in boarding school at Settlers. Her excuse is that, no, when she was at boarding school in Settlers donkey years, they used to make them put their clothes in order. So now she's tired.
Yeah. No.
Your
it's a bit
final
tricky
thought,
because
Ayanda.
she's old. Because she's a bit older, it's a bit tricky in terms
Yes.
of just, but I will say to you that it's very important to be very clear in terms of having a conversation. And then
Yes.
if she's not able to do that, to say these are going to be the consequences. If it means you're going to have someone coming to clean up every second day, then she must foot the bill for that. And if she's not willing to start modeling a better way to keep the house clean for the daughter, that's even disastrous, because in the long run, she will.
Yeah,
also
it's
have
such a
the same problem.
disaster. It's stress fela.
Askisi. And I can hear also what's frustrating you is it is going to get to the daughter. This is the problem.
Yes,
If
that's the
mama
problem.
doesn't do it, then obviously. But then maybe the bright side is you are there. So Nkgono
But
will.
I can't be doing all that at my age. I'm
Or
over 60.
what?
I can't be doing, because like now as we speak, I'm cleaning.
Oh. Okay, I was just going to suggest the fact that you're there gives some guidelines and rules.
I
Yeah.
have tried.
That's all I'm saying.
So for me, the
Alright.
guidelines must come with consequences. And you, as a granny, as a mom, you have to be very clear in making sure that you're consistent in making those. To the extent that if it's stressing you to the extent to say, listen, I'd like to give you some time to start looking for a different place because you're not giving me the peace. We tend to not put the rules down for our children, and then they know that they can keep crossing these boundaries and crossing the boundaries. And if we're not consistent with those rules, unfortunately, they just will.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse Osma
I'll do
Pifa, I'm
that.
sorry. That's
All
very,
right.
very frustrating. And I imagine, if living together must be very difficult if you have a different concept of what you think you need to do to keep a home going. That's why I asked, what do you want her to do? What is the definition of lazy? Because there's differences in what parents expect from their kids.
Yeah. And all of that should be negotiable in terms of just and it's obviously tougher because she's a bit older. But what I always say, irrespective though of the age, as a parent, you have to be clear about what you expect and what will be the consequences should that not be done. And then more importantly, the follow-up. You have to really follow up. So for me, if it means that she has to then get to a point where maybe have a family meeting with maybe other adults who may come through, or saying, listen, maybe look for a smaller place and live with your daughter there, and you guys can figure it over. I know it sounds tough, Pabi, but this is the kind of toughness that's required.
No, that's a good consequence, actually.
Because now you're talking about the daughter also having the same problems with her children in the future because she hasn't modeled anything better.
Let's quickly speak to Sillo before we go to the headlines. Hi, Sillo.
How are you, my dear?
Good, and you?
As parents, we need to tolerate. We don't need to tolerate. For example, always clean control. It's non-negotiable, right? If you've got a girl of that age, because now I'm thinking it further to say if she's not cleaning her house, I'm taking this thing further. You understand? So what we are saying here as an adult, we need not to tolerate that.
Why did everyone laugh? Because honestly, like it's a very valid question. Sorry, Abutsillo. Carry on.
So what we are saying, like the example they've given, or okay, that's her bill. If as a khono patela bill, awa ha tse di porogana tsa hae a bona plan.
Yeah.
Ayo dila da anne ka mohara mo ile hore a ka se butsiwe hore clean.
Yeah.
She must just moved out of the house. And then when ka sala le ngwana wa hae, and then wa khona mo molda, because she's molding her girl badly. You understand?
Exactly.
That's an example. So we can't put that bad an example moto kwangwana.
Yeah, and I think Mapefo said that she has another daughter with a daughter in the house. I could have just been making that up. I don't know. It sounded like there were two kids in the house. And so if one...
the younger one is the one who's more responsible and more clean. Yeah.
And when she started saying, Opaka, diaparo tsa hae smart, and then it's a so smart. I was like, oh, has there been a why can't you be like your sister conversation?
I mean, those would naturally happen, but also in conversations, especially when you are older, you as a child have a responsibility to communicate if you have certain hurts or expectations that were not fulfilled. Yes, sometimes our parents, they do parent the way they were parented. They don't necessarily get it. But what we want to avoid is the kind of generational issues that we are now sending to the next generation, which is why it's so important that as I deal with my own issues, my abandonment issues, whatever issues I have, I'm working daily to fix those so that I don't do the same thing to my children. So if I've experienced favoritism, I've experienced whatever issues, I need to go out there and find information and assist myself so that I can do better. And it is true that you can never have two bulls, if I could use that word, in a kraal. So we get to a point where at a certain age, it's very hard to listen to your parents if you're going to be in the same space with them. And sometimes this toughness is really needed. Pabi, I see a lot in our Black families when it comes to discipline, when it comes to some of the issues around whatever guilt we feel as parents, we tend to slack off. But the problem for me, the cost in the long term, when we don't put our foot down, when we don't, go crazy if you have to, when it comes to just trying to make sure that everyone's getting that message and you're saying, listen, and this is going to be the consequence. As long as you're living under my roof, I have to take care of certain situations. I want peace of mind as a parent. These are going to be done. Or else go to father or uncle or whoever else. That's just the reality. I mean, it sounds
is the reality.
Tough. But can you imagine you coming home every day and you're stressed because your child didn't remove things from the sofa, didn't put away the butter that they were using? I mean...
Yeah, a filthy house also gives you high anxiety. It makes it easy to fight in the house. Like, it's a nightmare. I find it to be a nightmare. If my house is out of, and I'm that one, if o pakolla, o sa pake hape, there's something that comes out of me. I'm just like, I can't, guys. This is too hectic. Because I feel like your home needs to be your sanctuary. But I hope from a very, very young age, boys and girls, we can start bringing them in and teaching them how to do this. Maybe not in the violent way we were taught, some of us, but definitely making sure that happens. Give us how we get hold of you very quickly.
So on Facebook and Instagram, I'm Ayanda Tetyana, or you can look for Aya, the Parent Coach, and my website is theparentcoach.co.za.
Wonderful. Always lovely to talk to you. Thanks, Ayanda.